Hello and welcome to another episode of Transcontinental Overload. I'm Stephanie, your host, in very autumnal New Jersey that has been taken over by Halloween decorations. I just spent a week in Germany to celebrate my dad's birthday, and I swear when I left it was just the usual pumpkins and all that sort of stuff. But in that 1 week while I was gone, Halloween had exploded everywhere. It's a lot of fun walking my dog around the neighborhood at the moment because it is so over the top. Believe me when I say that, because this is not my first Halloween in the US, and I've seen various parts of the country at this time of year, but nothing compares to this. It's absolutely outrageous. And for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's the style of the houses here or the light, whatever it is, this area is particularly suited to Halloween. I'll try and post some pictures on social media. It's just too good not to share. But back to the podcast. My guest today is Sarah, a German expat in London. And as you know, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, I love London and the UK. And so talking about London and British culture in general is something I really, really enjoy. And of course, we talk a lot about cultural differences, mainly between Germany and the UK, but also between the US and the UK. We also talk a lot about tea, and the brewed version. A big topic though is friendship. Sarah has set up her own business as a loneliness expert and friendship coach, and you might be thinking, what on earth is a loneliness expert and why would anybody need a friendship coach? I promise you will know exactly once you've listened to our conversation and Sarah's approach and insights. She gives us a very honest and introspective account of our own experience of loneliness, and it really resonated with me. So I know it will absolutely resonate with you too. We've all been there. We've all felt lonely at some point in our lives, whether we've moved abroad or to another city, or sometimes even in our own hometowns without moving. It's something we can all empathize with. It's amazing what a difference it can make, actually, when you get a little bit of help to feel less lonely and more connected. Anyway, let's get to it. Let's take a deep dive into Sarah's story. Welcome to Transcontinental Overload, Sarah. I'm happy to have you here this morning, or lunchtime for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
And you're in London, right? So yeah,
I'm in London.
London, my absolute favorite city in the whole wide world. So I'm very jealous, but I will be there in a few weeks too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Amazing.
So how long have you been in London? And or should we just jump into your story and find out all about you? Because I don't really know that much about you. I've met you on Instagram.
Yes.
Like so many in this wonderful expat community. And we're all going through the same things and issues. And so I always love to people back in my old home.
Yeah, definitely. So I moved here in 2019, so 5.5 years ago now. I'm originally from Hamburg in Germany, and I went to London in 2018 for a week to visit a friend of mine. And while I was on holiday here, I met my partner, and that was it. That was the end of it, really. I moved, I went back after the holiday, obviously to Germany. But we just got on so well that he then visited me and then I visited him. And then we had a long distance relationship for a couple of months. But it wasn't really for me or for us, really. I didn't really enjoy, the distance and found it quite difficult. So I was at a point in my life where I wasn't unhappy, but I didn't really know what to do. And it was a good kind of decision-making points. So we had a conversation and I spoke English, and I didn't really have a job, like my dream job or anything like that. So I just put my job on hold, basically got like a long-term leave,
Hmm.
rented out my flat, and then moved to England.
So that sounds like a pretty much of a whirlwind story. I mean, I
Yes.
have one myself, but still not compared to that. So I would, after a week, you kind of felt a pull and like, this is something happening here. Something jolted me, and I'm so familiar with this feeling. And it's when you talk to other people about it, people are always like, "Are you insane? What,
Yes.
how can you make based a decision on something like that?" And but I totally get it. But it's so crazy on paper. But then I guess, like you said, if you're at that point in your life where you're open to change, and then yeah, why not? I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
There's so many people are so careful and I don't know, making decisions. I'm a very impulsive decision maker,
Mm,
so I get it.
yeah. It's really interesting because I'm actually a really kind of thoughtful decision maker. So I'm really not, impulsive, I wouldn't say, but that was really impulsive. So it's really interesting. But I think it just made sense to me. And I felt like I truly believed I had nothing to lose because I kept my job and I kept my apartment. So my plan was just to go for 8 months and see how it
Just
goes. So
see, yeah.
that really
And
helped.
I mean, to be honest, and it's only like it's a short flight
Yes,
back home, and it's not like you have to pack up and move halfway around the world
exactly.
to do that. So I guess that's, yeah, but still. But do you want to tell us how you met? I'm intrigued now.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? We met on Tinder. So I came over to London and my friend just suggested that English guys are really nice and I should date or, meet an English guy. And so we just got a bottle of wine, just sat there and Tindered. And then I met him and I met another, or we were writing to or with another person, and luckily it didn't work out with the other person. So I met my partner, and it was crazy. I've never had anything like that. We really just met up, and immediately I
Mhm.
was like, oh my God, like I think I really like this guy. And then we saw each other every day on the remaining 6 days I was here. I even rescheduled my flight to be here for another, I don't know, 12 hours. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it really was that, like you said, just that within that week, I was like, oh wow, this can really be something. And I didn't want it to be something. That's the other thing, because I never planned on living abroad. Um, but yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah. What's your background in terms of work? Because I think
Hmm.
that makes a big difference too, right? Because I was like, I studied
Yeah,
languages, so for me it was like I wanted to go abroad. I knew that. It was more
yeah.
a case of like when and for how long. But in your case, yeah.
Yeah. So my background is to work with people. So working with people with disabilities, with mental health diagnoses, with any kind of challenges that prevent them from, living the life that they want to live or living an empowered life. So I've trained in that and worked in that in Germany, and that meant like I am was and am passionate in my area, in my field of supporting people and empowering people. But I worked in a job that was good, but I didn't really feel empowered in it myself in a way. So it
Mhm.
wasn't like I didn't feel that I arrived at that point where
Mhm.
this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I was quite flexible with that. Um, yeah, but I guess when you are really, it comes down to the where you are in your life. If you are at, in a position where you have a house and a job that you really like, when you have roots that hold you there, it's
Mhm.
much harder to make that decision. So I was
Of
quite
course.
free in a way. Yeah. What did you study?
I studied languages. So I
Mm-hmm.
went to a translation school
Right.
in Munich. So I studied in translation and interpreting. I was going to go to Brussels and be one of the people in the booth with the headphones, and then I decided that actually I found that really stressful, and I really wanted to get into publishing and
Mm-hmm.
books and things like that. So I then did a master's program in Canterbury in the UK for
Oh,
a
amazing.
year, because in Germany at the time it was very much like you had to, if I'd wanted to do that in Germany, I would have had to go back to the beginning and done another
Yeah.
like at least 3 years of that, and I didn't want to do that. And in the UK I could do it in a year. So I'm like, what's not, I could do probably 9 months and then write my thesis and go back home. And that
Yeah.
I never did go back home. So those 9 months turned into 12 years in the UK. Yeah, and now I'm
Wow.
in the US. So
That's
yeah,
amazing. Did you stay in that area then, or did you move around in the
we
UK?
moved to London. So I met my husband. I've met him actually quite early on, because he was doing an MBA. So he was
Hmm.
also, he had worked, he had done his undergrad and then worked, and then also felt like I want to do more. And that's when we met. And then we moved to London. And then we lived in London
Amazing.
for a while, and then started a family and moved out and moved back into the Kent area.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
I
amazing.
was fully immersed in England, British culture, and all
Hmm.
that sort of thing. So I didn't have the US on my radar at all.
Wow.
Things happen, and
Yeah.
and sometimes it's that where something jolts you, like you said, you had that experience, and you're just open to change, and or you feel like, no, I know something needs to change, and then something else or someone else makes a decision for you, and then sometimes
Hmm.
that's just what you need,
Yeah.
and then you just, yeah, go with the
Yeah.
flow.
You do.
Yeah.
And it's hard to make, I don't know, sometimes, we don't know what expects us in a different country. We don't actually know until we're there. And so it's really hard to make a decision because it's not really an
Mhm.
informed decision, isn't it? Unless you actually live there.
You have to jump, really,
Yeah,
you have to
you
jump.
really do. Yeah.
It's, and I want to say, I mean, I would, well, 2019, maybe, yeah, there were more resources also available online, in just in terms of, there's a huge a global expat community online, and you can find a lot of like-minded people who've gone through exactly the same thing. It's much easier now to find local groups and things online. Whereas I feel like when I first left Germany,
Hmm.
that's I was 98. There
Hmm.
wasn't that much, really. There was like hardly any. The internet was just not at the same level.
Yes.
Um, and so I've just really appreciated over the last, I would say, probably 5 years, 8 years, that it's
Hmm.
become just much more of a support network, I think.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. There is a lot of support out there, and I think it is really helpful to at least, I don't think it's the same as, the in-person human to
No,
human
for
support, but
sure.
at least there is some support out there. And I think it helps to just know that there are people and that your experiences aren't weird or that, unusual. I think just realizing that there are people out there who experienced the same issues, the same struggles, that alone can be so
Hmm.
supportive and healing. I mean, it can just be so helpful to know that yes, there are other people out there. It's not just me. Nothing's wrong with me. So yeah, I definitely
Hmm.
agree. It's really helpful.
Yeah. And I guess that kind of takes us right into what you've established in the UK, because I mean, I'm guessing from your background in like mental health and just being working with people going abroad, and that going through that experience of, because all the mental health issues that arise that you are so not prepared for, or just
Hmm.
that you don't expect when you, like you said, you just don't know these things before you move. um so going through that probably was the catalyst for you to be like, okay, I can use all my background and now use my new experience to inform that and build something from that.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, I never lived abroad, never spent any time abroad. So for me, that was a completely new experience.
Mhm.
And like you said, I was not aware of what might happen. And to be fair, it was fairly a fairly easy process. So there wasn't any huge like cultural adjustment that I had to go through. I was able to speak English before, so there wasn't a huge language barrier that I had to overcome or deal with. So I had it fairly easy, but I still really struggled. And I think
I
the
was just
move.
I was just gonna
Mm,
say, when you say it wasn't too much of a like a culture shock, language wise, I absolutely get that. Yes, and because I mean, we are very fortunate in Germany to
yeah,
usually have a very good education system that includes at least one or two foreign languages, and I
yeah.
feel like that's become even more so the over the last 10, 20 years. Um, However, I kind of, and this is me having studied languages and having studied like British culture, like, you know,
Mm,
it still is a complete culture shock to actually be there and deal with the people because I would say this, it's nothing like you think it is. Uh,
mm.
and English people are very, how do I put this? I don't want to say acquired taste, but they certainly have a lot of quirks that I think I wasn't really prepared for.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it definitely it is a shock. Like it is a change, right? And I think it depends really. I feel like what was helpful for me to go through it was that I moved here for my partner who had a great network of friends who then actually it turned out that I still struggled with it as well. So basically maybe to just reveal what this is all about is that I help people now to make friends, to build a support network and to end their loneliness basically that they have just found themselves in after moving to a different country. So the reason why I do this now is that this was the main thing that I struggled with when I moved to England, really letting go of everything, obviously, that I knew that I had of all my friends and family, and just starting from scratch. And I think it brought up so many things that I wasn't aware of that I had in Germany already in terms of difficulties or struggles um, that just never really appeared because I had long-term friendships that I've built over the years. So I never really actively searched for new friends, which I did when I moved to England. And then all this stuff came up that I obviously had before but never was aware of. And it is definitely challenging, but I think, the loneliness was the biggest thing that I really struggled with. And it wasn't that I was physically alone, it was more the fact that I didn't feel connected to the people that
Yeah.
I had in my life. Yeah.
And you know, I think that is the one common denominator that everyone who moves abroad has at some point.
Yeah.
It's that realization like, oh shit, I am
Hmm.
completely on my own. You know, and this is like you said, you might be in a group of people, you might be married, but that sense of I am on my own and
Mm.
I need to do something because this is the other thing. It's like no one, like your friends from back home that you, like you said, didn't have to kind of do much to maintain the friendship, or you just get used to that. They accept you because they've known you forever.
Yeah.
You don't, very often, you don't have to work that hard to keep
Mm.
that going because it's just a given that they're there.
Yeah.
And then that falls away. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, how do you make friends? How do you
Hmm.
actually go out and make friends? And I think that experience of the realization that it's down to you, that's what
Mm.
hits everyone at some point. And I'm not even saying this is just people who move abroad. I mean, this is, you move in your own, you move to a different city in your own country.
Yeah.
But then you just have the added obstacles or opportunities when you go
Hmm.
somewhere like in a different country, different
Yeah.
language. And sometimes it's those moments where you want to share something or a cultural reference and you want to share it with someone who knows exactly what you're talking about, and then there's no one around you that you can share it with, and that creates that sense of loneliness too, right?
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And it is like you said, the realization that actually a friendship isn't something that just happens. And
Mm-hmm.
we just took it for granted because it was there, because it developed over time. But now actually realizing, okay, no one's going to knock on my door and say, "Oh, Sarah, I want to be a friend." No, it is
Mm-hmm.
actually, you have to do something for it. And then, like you said, the additional obstacles when you've moved abroad, navigating a different culture. Like maybe within Europe, it's not so much of a difference, but if you move, from, I don't know, Spain to Denmark, all of a sudden people are very different there. You don't know how to interpret their signs or their behavior. You think, you internalize things because that's what we do as humans, and then you think something's wrong with you. And then if you don't have the support or you're not aware of it, you just spiral, and then you end up just thinking that you're not worthy and you're not likable and something's wrong with you and no one likes you. And then you don't go out, you don't make friends or, meet people because you feel like you aren't good enough, you're unworthy enough. And so it can become really, really challenging, and not for everyone. Some people might go through this and they, find their ways and meet people, and they might be very open-minded and not shy, not introverted. But for some people, and that was me as well, I am an introvert. I do my energy does really drain when I spend time with people. So I have to be really careful, find a good balance. And I've noticed actually my thoughts about me, they weren't that great actually. And I'd never realized that, like I said, but coming up to this point of like, what are they thinking about me? Are they gonna like me? What did I say in that, coffee date? Like, yeah. So it just brings up a lot of crap.
I so empathize because I'm an overthinker as well. So I will go through, and you go through conversations in your mind again because, or you met up with someone and they don't call back or don't send,
Yeah.
and you message them and you're like, hey, how about, meeting up again next week? And then nothing. And then you just kind of think, oh my God, what have I said?
Yeah.
I'm the same way. And then you think maybe it was the way I said it. Maybe it's because I'm German. Maybe there's, you can, like you said, you could spiral. You can totally spiral into, and go slightly insane. And then if you don't have people around you, and this includes health professionals too, because you might feel actually depressed, or you might go to the doctor and say, I don't know what. And if they don't realize it, they don't know what you're going through.
Yeah.
And they prescribe you antidepressants or whatever. And it's like, it's really essential that you actually have people around you, whether physical or online, that understand what you're going through.
Definitely.
It's all about friends, isn't it? I mean, life is all about friends.
Yeah.
What I love is you do get to know yourself really, really well.
And you have to. You have to. You can't make friends without. Yeah, it really is so important. And that's, I think, another layer that we underestimate. Before we are in a situation where we actively have to work on making friends, we don't think about ourselves. We just have so many thoughts and beliefs and assumptions about us and other people and how they think about us. It's just unconsciously, we just don't think about it. Whereas then it comes up, and then yes, you definitely. That's the first thing I do with my clients, is to really work on how they think about themselves and the relationship they have with themselves, because they can't make friends if they aren't confident in themselves, if they don't feel worthy. They might make friends, but just in the attempt to fill that gap that they have, the unworthiness that they feel. So it's really essential, to make the relationship you have with yourself better, to improve it, to work on it.
Yeah, and you have to face your own vulnerability, and I think that's I mean, everybody has to at some point, and I guess for people who are maybe more introverted, it's not easy at all to open up and face all that. I remember being at a point where I'd moved already. I'd moved from England to California, and then we moved from California to Texas. And I was, I felt so low. I kept myself so busy with the move that I didn't have any time to think about, and then it hit me that no one had checked in with me, like called or messaged, like in the first 2-3 weeks. And I was, instead of just kind of grabbing the phone and calling my friend and saying, hey, what's up? Have you forgotten about me? I just festered in my own misery. And I was like, why is no one calling me? Why am I all but alone? And no. And I was so miserable until I got so sick of myself. And that mindset of like waiting for people to help and get me out of the hole. And I'm like, no. This is, their lives have just carried on. They didn't even, it probably just didn't occur to them.
Mm,
And because I was so resentful. And then I
yeah.
decided that that is the worst mindset to have, because there's no shame in picking up the phone and saying, I just, can you call me, message, can you call me, I'm feeling really lonely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's really, but this is the vulnerability. I was just like, no, I'm strong, I've got this, I can do this, I can handle anything. And uh they realized that that's also how people saw me. They're like, oh,
Mm,
she's done this so many, she's so great at this, she doesn't need help. and
exactly. Yeah.
and I desperately needed help. I desperately needed just someone to say, oh, I'm thinking of you, I'm, hope you're okay. And that changed. I could see the change for my next move, because I'd learned my lesson. And
Hmm.
rather than just festering and not reaching out, I was very open about it, and how sad I was, and how lonely I felt, and how hard it was. And all of a sudden, the people were picking up on it, and it was such a difference. But it was all down to me to show that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that you say that actually, because it shows, obviously vulnerability is needed, but it also shows that it's your responsibility, to
Mhm.
make sure that you're okay. And it's not your friends'. And I think this is a really big misconception that people have, or expectation that people have, that their friends should do certain things. They should check in on us. They should know that we're feeling lonely. They should know that we're feeling low. They should want to make sure that we're okay. And
Mhm.
truth is, there are loads of reasons why
Oh yeah.
they're not, right? And that might be that they just don't know, or they think you're okay. And I think
Mhm.
like what you've just described is such an important lesson for everyone to hear as well, is actually you deciding like, I'm going to get what I need. And even if that requires me to request a call,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
prefer for them to call, but truth is they don't. So I need a call, so let me request one. I think that is so important and so good, because it isn't down to your friends to make
No.
to fulfill your needs. Like, you are responsible. You're a grown
Mhm.
adult, and I think sometimes we wish that it would be different, and sometimes it is different, but it is not.
Absolutely. And conversely, I feel like it's made me a better friend too, because
Yeah.
I am much more conscious of when friends are going through things,
Yeah.
to check in,
Mm.
because I know that they're not necessarily going to reach out. And
Yes.
it's, when people, it's like someone has a tough breakup, or bereavement, and people always do this, like, oh yeah, just let me know if you need me, let me know if you
Hmm.
need me, let me know if I can, what can I do, or let me know if I can do anything, and feel free to call me. But when you're in that hole, it's the last thing that you have the energy to do, is to reach out and call someone. And this is something
Yeah.
that you just have to learn, that you just have to overcome that and do that. But people are not necessarily going to do it. So when I
Hmm.
don't hear from people for a long time, for example, I'm like, okay, I think it might be time to check in, because they might be sitting in a hole. And so I feel like I do feel like it's helped me become better at maintaining relationships as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's not easy. And it's all down, you said it earlier, to self-worth as well,
Mm.
because that moment when you're sitting there like, why is no one calling me? Is it because I'm so unlikable? Is it because
Yeah,
I'm just not worth, that people think I'm not worth it, I'm not a good friend? And you spiral into that, like, that's why they're not calling me, because they don't like me, which is
exactly.
not the case, and which is
No.
not. And then people are busy, and we all know how busy life gets. And yes, okay, there are some bullshit reasons for not calling, and it's not difficult to send a quick text message at all. But yeah, you can't. It's not on everyone's radar.
Yeah.
Expectations, I think, is what I'm trying to
Yes.
say. Expectations are just, yeah, you have to be, you have to become much more flexible with that.
Yeah. And I think it's also understanding it's not all as dramatized as your brain makes it to be. It's not like you're the worst person in the world and you're not a good friend, or your friends aren't good. It's just maybe, yes, they didn't know. Your brain's going to make up this massive story of how horrible you are or how horrible they are, when actually it's not that much of a big reason behind it. And like you say, yeah, expectations. And just the first step is just being aware of that all of this is going on so that you can make a
Mhm.
decision. What do I expect? What do I maybe communicate? So you can tell your friends, look, if you don't hear from me for 2 weeks, would you be able to maybe send me a quick text message? Because I
Mhm.
tend to not reach out if I need to. You can also verbalize that with your friends. And that's the best way to actually create a healthy friendship is to be aware of your expectations and then to request certain things from your friends. And they can choose not to do it, right? They don't have to behave that way. But it's really to give them a chance to do that.
Yeah.
If they don't know that this is something you like, they can't fulfill it. So it's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about communication. It's so
Yes.
true. And then you just have to accept also that a lot of people are just really not good at staying in touch online when you don't see each other physically. I think
Yes.
it's when you're not used to it, and we become very good at it. Moving abroad and where it's your only way of connecting with people
Mm.
is FaceTime or Skype or whatever it is. And when that's not part of your daily routine, it's some people are just not good at it, and that's
Mm.
okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. Because I mean, that was also something over the years that always bugged me, where I'm like, can't you just learn to use this? Or can't you just learn how many hours difference we have?
Hmm.
Because I always have several time zones in my brain. It's
Yeah.
like I can tell at any point what time it is, and depending on where my friends live, but I know always. My brain is like that. It's just got used to that. A lot of people just don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another huge lesson. I love that you said that because it's like, can't you just be different? Like we sometimes wish
Mhm.
for the people to just be different, and truth is they're not, and
Mhm.
just because we do something a certain way or we are a certain way doesn't mean that everyone else has to be. And I think realizing that is so good.
Yeah, but it's the self-worth thing again, because you
Mm.
think, well, you're obviously not taking the time to learn how many hours of time difference there is. So you think I'm not worth the effort.
Yes. We internalize it again, right?
Oh
We
my
make it mean
God.
about us.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so that's another lesson that you just learn. We just have to let things go. And I kind of enjoyed that as part of the pandemic, where people all of a sudden realized that, oh, we have FaceTime. We can actually FaceTime every day. Like, yeah,
Yeah. Duh,
I
I've
knew
been
that
doing
all
it
along.
for ages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was this brief period where people were using that more, but then you go back to your normal. Um, but so talking about the pandemic, so you moved in 2019, so that means you weren't in London that long before lockdown happened and all
Hmm.
that. So that must have contributed greatly to your sense of loneliness too.
So I moved in January 2019, and yeah, so it was a year and a couple, like 2 months
Mm.
before it kind of hit. And it was funny 'cause the first year was just fun, exciting, everything's new, that
Mhm.
that proper honeymoon stage of this is so cool, everything is exciting. And then the pandemic hit. I have to say, COVID was in a weird way really amazing, like for in so many ways in my private life of the relationship with my partner. We actually had the opportunity to really grow and get to know, like it just improved our relationship. It improved our financial situation greatly because we weren't able to do anything. um but of course, yeah, it did prevent me from going out and making friends. And I think that's what I mentioned before as well. I actually never was a person who enjoyed doing that. So COVID didn't really feel awful at the time, but obviously it prevented me from doing the thing that I knew I kind of had to do. So it felt like an excuse. Oh, I just can't go out because we're in lockdown, I can't see anyone. But obviously it prevented me from doing this work much earlier and just prolonged that experience of loneliness. We still sometimes were able to see people because obviously we were kind of in and out of lockdown. So it was the physical contact was there, but I think it was during that time that I really realized that, for example, my partner is from London. He grew up in the area we still lived at the time, and so he had and still has lots of friends and family. So every now and again he went out by himself with his friends, and which is absolutely fine, right? But at the time, because I didn't have anyone, I it was the worst thing ever. I felt so resentful. I felt like the world is against me and everything is horrible. And why can't I go out? Why can you go out? And it created so much stress and so many problems for the only reason being me not having friends. And I think
Mhm.
that was the time when I realized, okay, I do have to, it's just me. Like there's nothing wrong with him going to see his friends at all.
No, and
And
you can't be a replacement for all
yes,
your for the friends, right? So the relationship can't put that burden on him and make it his
exactly.
responsibility to be all the roles that your friends take up.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly. Yeah. So that just created a lot of problems. So then I just realized, okay, I had to do something. And so that's how I really got into coaching as a tool to get to know myself in the beginning. And unfortunately at that time, so I never really utilized the expat kind of community online because at the time I just actually didn't know that there was anything like that out there. So I went through it independently and found coaching, really utilized the tools. Didn't
Hmm.
have a coach at the time because again, there wasn't really it was just all new to me. So I've learned it all. I've applied it and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like this really works. This is so cool.
So
Um,
what coaching did you do?
so I found Brooke Castillo's Life Coach School podcast and just binged the whole podcast. And it was so, so helpful. All the
Mhm.
concepts and tools that I've learned through there to really understand things in a way that I've never seen the world in. Like the concepts that I'm still applying now, that I'm teaching
Yeah.
my clients now, that really changed everything for me. So that empowered me greatly. And then I think it was just a decision of taking control over my results in my life, like to an extent of being uncomfortable, getting to know myself, getting to love myself, and meeting people. Um, because I've done hard things before, like moving abroad, but it never felt as uncomfortable as making new friends. So that really supported me through that. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Well, and that, the I listened to so many podcasts during
Hmm.
COVID, as so many people did. I actually started this one in
Yeah.
just before COVID, and actually, this podcast was a result of a coaching class I took. So
Amazing.
I actually went into a coaching program for a few months
Yeah.
because I had fallen into this. Oh, what do I, what do I do? How do I use my experience to create something, sort of thing? And that's when I
Yeah.
started the podcast, and then it coincided that when I launched it, it coincided with the pandemic, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then, but that just opened so many doors, and people had time to listen as well, which is also really nice.
It's
Um,
true.
yeah, so that whole introspective period. But so I can totally relate to listening to a podcast and being, oh my God, this makes so much sense. And all of a sudden yeah,
Yeah.
things come
Yeah.
together. I'd
It's
love
so
to hear it.
amazing.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I think especially, during COVID, it was that time of just stillness, like quiet, you really didn't have anything else to do but kind of face yourself. So having those tools and just being
Mhm.
aware of things, I don't know. I don't want to say it was a great time because I know that it brought a lot of horrible things to many, many people, and I
Mhm.
don't want to diminish that. But in my personal experience, in my little bubble, it was really a turning point in my life in so many ways that
Mhm.
I'm very grateful for. And
Mhm.
it just, yeah, allowed me to become who I am now.
Yeah.
And that podcast was the first step towards that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great
So
podcast.
how did you then set up your program? How did it become what it is now? And how do people find you, and how do you guide people through the
Yeah.
the steps?
Yeah. So, yeah, it started with a podcast. I kind of learned, applied tools by myself, saw that, okay, it's actually working. This is amazing. And then before that, I actually did a course or qualification in counseling skills. So, becoming a counselor. But I decided that this wasn't really my journey that I wanted to take for several reasons, and then found coaching. So through the podcast, and then I did a qualification in coaching as well to really learn the tools. And obviously, with the background that I had already, it was
Hmm.
just kind of really redefining
Yeah,
certain
building on
skills and
that.
stuff. Yeah. And then obviously I first applied everything to myself. So really, apply like walking the walk, doing everything that I've learned and saw changes. So I've worked a lot on the relationship I have with myself, how I see myself and how confident I feel about myself in the friendship setting. So I think there are different areas as well when we think about ourselves, business and maybe
Hmm.
family, and then friendship, I think is quite a specific one, or as a person, I guess. Um, did that work and did the scary things of just meeting someone from Bumble, having a friendship date and then being all nervous and who's gonna text first after the date. And it's just, went through all of that. And at some point I realized, okay, I'm at a point now where I feel like I can actually help people
Hmm.
who, aren't as far into that journey as I am. And I just set up an Instagram account. That's literally how I
Hmm.
started, and just kind of found my way within that, navigated, kind of niching down. I think at first I actually wasn't quite sure about what I wanted to help people with, which then actually established quite quickly after realizing, yeah, friendship is probably something that many, many people can relate to and struggle
Hmm.
with. Yeah, and then I just, based on the work that I've done in my life, just created from the lessons I've learned, like from the tools that I've learned, I've just established what I think is really the steps that people have to take to make friends, which are the relationship that they have with themselves, to meet the right people, because oftentimes we struggle to find the right people to connect with them, and then to build really deep connections with them, because I think, like I said, it all starts with you, but then you have to find the right people. You have to manage your time. We're all busy. We all have different responsibilities, different time zones, maybe with long distance
Hmm.
friendships. But yeah, it's just it's all based on my own experience and on the tools that I've learned. And I am mainly on Instagram still. I'm doing my work online, so I still, or many people, find me through online resources. And yeah, I love helping people, and especially on that topic, because I just had a coaching session earlier this morning, and my client just said, it's so much more than just go out and meet five people. We really do that deep work, and I feel, first of all, people don't know that there is anything like friendship coaching even, available. But then when they hear it, I often think people just think, oh, I don't need to get a coach to make some friends, but it's so much more than that. And being able to share that and show that with people is so amazing. I just love that. I love what I
Yeah,
do.
yeah, sounds like it. But it's yeah, and like you said, people don't they don't know that there is something like that, and that they might need it. And
Hmm.
that's the because I mean, you talk to people and they're like, well, I guess I'm gonna get some coaching because I need friends. People are like, what? You don't need that. You don't need
Yeah,
help, do you? And actually, when you think about it, hmm, because it's that you do have to invest time and energy in making friends.
yeah,
And and we said this earlier, when you move abroad, then clearly you have to do that. But even for people who haven't moved, I would say everyone could do with
mm,
coaching in so many ways.
yeah,
Um, And I feel like the awareness is and acceptance is changing also. And this is a pretty recent thing, I want to say. And
mm,
professionally, probably it's been around for a while now. And I mean, especially culturally, maybe here in the US, it's very much a given that that you have a coach at some point.
yeah,
And so, and I mean, there's the cliche, right, that every American has a shrink.
yeah,
It's just like, well, and there is, to some extent, it's true. It's just that level of people just accepting that they need help with things.
yeah,
That's it's a US mindset. It's the outsourcing mindset. It's like
Mm.
you would, it always makes me smile. Like when you like moving in Germany, for example, when you move, people do it themselves so much, or they
Yes.
get their friends involved. And here, people, it's like no one would dream of that. I mean, of course, you're going to hire someone to do these things. You
Really?
hire someone to walk your dog. You hire someone to the personal trainers. You hire. It's such a. So I guess it's all part of it. Your mental maintenance falls into that too, I guess. So
Yeah, that's really
and so the
interesting, actually.
and because like I talk to so many people here who've done coaching for various things, and it's like, or people will be like, oh yeah, my coach said this and that. in in Europe, I still feel like people are like, a coach, what are you doing coaching? So there's definitely a difference in perspective.
Definitely. Yes. But
Yes.
it's very interesting, actually. It makes sense, the outsourcing kind of mentality. Yeah, completely makes sense. And again, it comes down to the culture and what is, because it's one and the same thing, but it just, for some people in a culture is like the most natural thing. And then for a
Mm-hmm.
different culture, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing? We do it
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. So very interesting.
Yeah, I love that. I love looking at the different approaches, and it's not like there's one that's better or worse, or it's just with some things, especially with coaching, because it all again comes back to vulnerability,
Hmm.
and to just accept that more, be like, I do need help.
Yeah.
So I like that about living here, actually, that there seems to be more of a, you don't have to be the lonely, fighter, just
Mm,
doing everything by yourself. But it took
I
it
like
took a
that.
long time for me to get to that point. I think my mindset was still way too European, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's also, coaching, I mean, is relatively
Hmm.
new-ish, as a um technique or as a
Hmm.
yeah standalone thing, versus like therapy, for example. So I think sometimes it might also be the
Hmm.
lack of awareness, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, there's definitely a need, and I love that we can spread awareness. And so I wish you'd been around when I first moved to California, and I didn't have any idea, or even to the UK. um,
Yeah.
because and culturally, the UK is not an easy place to
Mm,
it's not like they welcome you with open arms necessarily. It's not as easy. I think it's easier, like in the US, it's easier to start talking to people. People are much more
mm,
open. Doesn't necessarily mean that they will become close friends, but it's easier not to feel so lonely.
mm.
Whereas in the
How was
UK,
your
it's different.
Yeah, how was your experience in the UK with people? Because I feel like we might have a different experience. So yeah, tell me.
I found it really tricky. Actually, when I went to university, it wasn't difficult at all to make friends, because Canterbury is a very international university. And I lived on campus, like the postgrad area of campus, which was, I want to say, 70% foreign
Mm,
students. So it
yeah.
was a big international community. So that was easy to just mingle. And when I moved to London with my then boyfriend, uh, I didn't find it easy at all. And
Yeah.
I had the same experience as you, where it's like he's got his friends, and then I just got sucked into that circle of friends, but they weren't friends that I'd made. And so I didn't find it easy really to go out and make my own friends. But
Hmm.
also, I was at that point where he said, it's like, I didn't really realize, or I didn't really know how to do that, how to go and make friends. And so I
Yeah.
relied very heavily on him. And then we moved out of London, and then I got pregnant. And then I started making my own friends by
Mm,
finding other women who were having their first baby. And so then, and that's a huge bonding experience.
yeah.
And so that's when I didn't find it difficult at all to make friends. But also I had kind of an introduction to British culture and how people how friendships work and the banter
Mm.
and all that sort of thing, because it's people have a very it's a different tone that people have with each other, and making fun of each other all the time, and not saying the opposite of what you actually mean, and all those sort of things, and it takes some getting used to. And I feel like I had the introduction because of him, so I
Mm.
knew, and I could meet people from a different point, I guess. So I didn't feel like I was a German, fresh off the boat, not knowing anything about British culture when I first went out and made my
Yeah.
own friends. So I felt very much like I had assimilated, and so I was more English probably at that point. So, and I didn't feel like they treated me like the strange foreign person. So
Mm.
yeah, I didn't find it difficult, but I realized that it was very much because I had him to introduce me
Yeah.
to the culture.
Yeah. Yeah. I I completely agree, actually. I know what you mean in terms of, the banter and, just how people speak. And I
Mm-hmm.
found it really, I didn't find it very challenging personally to kind of go, because I really liked it. I didn't
Yeah,
really
me
find
too.
it,
Absolutely. So
yeah,
much fun. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I really like that. I think what I really struggled with in terms of the culture, or just how people are, I think in the UK, what I see as a German person anyway,
Mm-hmm.
is this. And it's interesting because now obviously you live in the US. I'd be curious to find out how your views are on this now. But for me as a German person coming to the UK, I always feel like in Germany, we don't say things that we don't really mean just for the sake of being friendly, you know? And then
Mm-hmm.
I came to the UK, and then I met someone and I felt like we got on really well. Like it was amazing. Definitely want to see her again. I think we really
Mm-hmm.
connected. And then we said goodbye, and she said, "Oh yeah, like let's meet up again, or definitely see each other again." And I was like, "Oh my God, yes." So just waiting, like going home, waiting for the text to be like planning the next meeting. And then I hear nothing ever from that person again. And it took me, that was the reason why I was like, one of the reasons why I was
Mm-hmm.
like, there's something wrong with me. What is going on? Why do they keep, like, why do I keep feeling like we're really connecting and then nothing happens? Like, is my radar wrong,
Yeah.
or what is going on? Um, but I find it very, I'm used to it now that English people are very friendly and they say things they don't always mean that way. And that oftentimes say, "Oh yeah, see you later," never see that person again. Um, I know it now, but in the beginning it was very, very challenging. And I don't really appreciate it. It still kind of annoys me a little bit if I go into it, but it's okay. Like I won't change anyone's behavior, and I'm aware of that, and I know what to do with it now. I
Mm-hmm.
know how to interpret it, and what I choose, not to make it
Yeah.
mean anything. But it's, yeah, that can be very challenging. And so in the US, I've heard, I've never been there, is a similar situation of people are very friendly and then
Mm-hmm.
nothing happens after. How is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, completely. Because I think English in general is a language also that it just has all these it can be very flowery and very
Yeah.
pretty, and is a big facade of uh, like politeness, and what's
Mm-hmm.
things that are said in certain situations, that because German is not such a language, German is much more direct and blunt. We don't have all that. So the minute we hear all that, the flowers and everything around it, we assume it's more than it actually is, because for
Yeah,
us it's
that's
like, oh
so
my god,
true.
they're using this beautiful, it must mean something, and it doesn't. And
Yeah.
so, and because I worked out that it's because other way around as well, the British people always think Germans are so rude,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact it's not. We just don't have all these flowery
Yes.
expressions, so we just say things. I always, what was the example I had, if you're on a train somewhere, and it's hot on a train, and so the German person would just be asking, can you open the window please, uh or I'm hot, can you open the window please? So to an English person, that would be so rude if you said it like that, which is
Yeah.
totally fine. Like the direct translation in German, you can say that to someone. Maybe you'd say, oh, would you mind opening the window? I'm hot. But that's it, and it's totally fine.
Hmm.
Whereas the English person would need the, would it be I'm awfully sorry to bother you, but would you mind? And I'm really hot, and I really don't want to cause any upset. And if you don't want to, that's fine too. And but would you please? I mean, I really feel really hot, and so you kind of make a big thing, and and I think when you're used to that sort of thing, then you can see how not using all the excuses and I'm so sorry that sorry I think is I mean the British are obsessed with it, and it's just not the case. You don't need that. You don't do it in Germany.
Yeah.
Now I feel like Germans are much ruder than I
Mm.
remember, but it's just because I'm used to living in environments where people are using a lot of small talk and just kind of make things sound pretty and polite,
Mm.
and in fact they're not, because I also
Mm.
feel like the British people hide a lot of things in flowery language, and actually
Mm.
there's a lot of passive aggressiveness in there as well, and you don't necessarily pick up on that when you're not used to it. It all
That's
sounds
true.
very nice and friendly, and oh,
Yes.
people are so nice and lovely, and you're like, yeah, are they really?
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just knowing that, right? I think that is really it's I completely agree with everything you said. I think that is such a great way of putting it. It's just there's no fluff in German, so you get straight to the point. And it's like as if Germans think every word we're using is like we're we are spending energy on every word we're using. We want to preserve energy, so we're using like the least amount of words.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
in English, it's like the opposite. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you said, everything is just fluffed up and sounds amazing, and then when you don't know, you're just left with expectations that you have set up for yourself because you of the way you interpreted that message, and you're going to be very disappointed. And I was oftentimes, but I think that is something that was really challenging for me, like culture wise. Yeah, it's just interesting how different cultures communicate and
Mhm.
how they use their words and express themselves in
Mhm.
different ways. Yeah, very interesting.
And the humor, obviously, so
Mm.
that and I mean, there's such great comedy as well in the UK. It you said it earlier, like people don't say what they say what they don't mean, or they don't mean what they say, or and it's sometimes, or they say it something in like one word and it just sums it up, and it's just so perfect, and making fun of even like horrible serious situations,
Yeah.
and they'll make one dry comment and you just kind of think, oh my goodness. Yeah, do you have any examples, like anything kind of funny, interesting
I
that
have
you've
an interesting, embarrassing, interesting. It's I don't know if any children listen to this podcast though. So it's a word that is
Oh,
probably over
go for
18.
it.
Good.
Yeah, there's a little box I can check if it's, don't
Okay.
listen to this in your when
You
you
can
have
also
the kids
cut.
in the car.
Yeah. Yeah. So you probably know Cards Against Humanity. You know
Oh
the
yes.
cat. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it was shortly after I moved here, and obviously I had English in school, but you don't learn any of those words in school, right?
No, and
So
none of the nuances.
yes.
Mhm.
So we were playing it with so my partner and his parents and me, we were playing it, and it was very new to me, the whole game. I love the game now, but first time playing
Mhm.
it, you're kind of trying to make out what all of that means. And so I had one of these cards and it said queef on there. And I thought, I don't know. So I didn't want to Google, because I didn't want to be on my phone. So my mother-in-law sits next to me and I was like, can I ask you like what this
Mhm.
what this card means? So I asked her, showed her the card, and I was like, what does queef mean? And so she was cracking out, just bursting out laughing and explained it to me. She was so sweet though about it. She really, she was laughing obviously because it was hilarious, but she was like explaining it really nicely, not making me, and then when she explained to me what it meant, I was cracking up. And then we told everyone about it. It's still a massive joke in the family about it. But yeah, so that was definitely probably the most embarrassing because I only met them as well, kind of, so it was really straight in.
It's maybe not the word that you want to ask your mother-in-law. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was, I think, probably the most kind of, I didn't really have any other kind of interesting language mistakes. It was just a couple of words I didn't know. I never knew how to pronounce like Edinburgh and like all of these like I
Oh
think it was
God.
Leicester.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I always said Leicester until my fiance was like, it's not Leicester, it's Leicester. So yeah, all of these
But I
pronunciations.
know, honestly, I feel like that all those names are just made up to confuse foreigners, right? And make it hard
Yeah.
for them and to let's test them. Let's see how
Yeah.
much they really know about us. Because I mean, nothing makes sense. I
No.
know there was a place close to where we lived, and it's spelt. So if you read it out, it's Trottiscliffe with an e at the
Mm.
end. It's pronounced Trosley, of course.
What?
Yeah. So just
Where are
to
all the letters
it
gone in between?
doesn't make any sense. But I
No.
remember it's a Trottiscliffe Country Park. Oh, it's Trosley, silly. Like, what? Who made
Yeah,
that up? Yeah, and I think it's just a conspiracy against
I think so too.
foreigners.
Yeah, definitely. What makes sense.
So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would you say? I mean, you've been there for 5 years and a bit now. What what's your absolute favorite thing about the UK? The people, and bearing in mind you're in London, so London is always a little bit different, I want to say, to the rest. But
I think what I love, so also to add, I always say London, we're just on the edge of London. So we're kind of, on the outskirts of London. We were living in London, but always on the edge. I've never lived like in
mm-hmm,
London, properly
mm-hmm,
in London. Um, but I think it is still kind of big city feeling here. What I do really love about the UK is once I found out how to handle the signs and the meaning of how people communicate and things like that, I do really love the people here. I do really feel um I think there are positives and there are always benefits and maybe things that
mm-hmm,
aren't so great. I think the openness, I find people very open here to having a chat, a casual chat, that people are inviting to have a chit chat and that's it. And nothing really necessarily comes from it, but it's just the small talk
mm-hmm.
kind of situations. In Germany, I don't really feel like you have that much. Like people are very much minding their own business, um, which is fine both ways, but I do enjoy the opportunity to have a quick chat. I really like that. I like the kind of pub feeling, the coming together, having a laugh, even though I don't really drink much. It's a nice atmosphere, I think, just people getting together, sitting like these old proper like country pubs. Yeah, I love that. It's cozy.
Yeah.
I love tea. I love like
Oh yeah.
tea. Afternoon tea is amazing. There are many things that I really like. I just feel it's so free. In Germany, everything's like regimented. You need papers, you need, all the bureaucracy. And here it's just probably even too much kind of laissez-faire, like
Mm-hmm,
casual. No one really cares, whatever. You just get a job because you knew someone and you've got the skills. So I think it has its advantages because it's easier for you,
mm-hmm.
it's not so much stress, it's easier for you to get a job. On the other hand, there are some disadvantages to that too. But yeah, overall, I think it is just a quite like open country from the experience that I've made in London as a German person. Yeah, I do enjoy it here. And at the same time, there are things that I don't enjoy,
Yeah.
but I guess there is no country where you don't have
Yeah.
any negatives.
What's kind of the thing that gets on your nerves the most, or that you just can't get used to?
The bullshit that, these bullshit fillers of words that are not needed, just don't tell me things you don't mean. It's just I'm now having to spend energy thinking what you mean and interpreting it, and you've wasted energy saying it. We don't need it. So I think the kind of fluff in so many areas like language, but also um, communication with yeah, I think communication mainly actually. All of that fluff, I just don't need it, and I find it unnecessary. But it's okay, But it's just it wouldn't be needed. The health system and I think the whole structure like of the country as such, I think is definitely challenging as well. It's great that we have the NHS, we have the healthcare, everyone has healthcare, which is I'm very grateful for that. I know that it isn't the same in other countries in the world, and I don't want to, moan about that. I think it is just I think the UK kind of has to think about how can we continue in a way that, is sustainable. Because I feel like we're at this turning point now where it's just kind of slowly degrading and people are
Hmm.
getting more and more frustrated and it's just not getting better.
Hmm. So, what would you say is the most English thing about you now? That's something that you do that you didn't used to do, and now you do.
Tea.
Mhm.
I'm so regimented. I have a tea, not every morning, but I have a tea every night at 8. I sometimes have a tea in the afternoon. I just love it's my ritual now and I love it. I never had the kind of English breakfast tea before and I really love it now. That's probably the most um English thing about me now. I love it. What is something that is,
I do
have you
too.
got something that you still do
Oh,
from the
from
UK or?
well, I guess it's because my husband is English, so
Mm,
we our household is a complete mix of everything. But the tea thing is very important, and actually, every time someone goes back to the UK, or comes back from the UK, has to bring tea. So that's
yeah.
it's a certainty. And when we go on holiday, and we go with British friends, they have half their suitcase full of tea. It's really funny. Every just this is one of the things. It's yeah, tea is essential, and yeah, I mean he drinks it like he drinks so much tea throughout the day, and I never knew it was possible to drink so much tea, but yeah.
Especially
It's
in Texas, when it's hot. That's
so,
dedication.
yep, we did definitely did that, and yeah, I think in general, it's just it was my first um the first country I moved to, and it felt very free and very much like I can be myself and all that. So it's become part of me, and
Mm,
I've lived longer outside of Germany than actually in Germany now. So I guess
wow.
I'm a bit sort of hybrid person now. So
Yeah.
there's probably lots of things, English things I do, but yeah, tea for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just the lifestyle. It's just the thing, I don't
yeah.
know. It's not, it probably, I never understood this whole tea thing, and probably people who might not have lived there they're just like, well, it's just tea, but I don't know, it's something to it, more than just a tea.
What about Germany? Is there anything that you really miss? And is there anything that you do when you miss Germany, or you're homesick, or you just want to feel that connection? Do you
Mm.
cook anything, or what do you do?
Yeah, funny enough, obviously, apart from like friends and family, I do miss food the most. Like and actually the only thing I really miss is food. And luckily, we have a Lidl around the corner, which sometimes does German food, so that's really good. Um, I don't actually feel homesick ever, really. I do miss friends every now and again, and then what I do is just, to make sure that we're in touch, that I think what I've noticed is the emotional connection. When I feel emotionally disconnected to them is when I miss them, when I um yeah, just feel disconnected. So what I do is just to put an effort into feeling more emotionally connected, which can be through sharing what's going on in my life, asking them what's going on in their lives, just to connect again, and that really helps. But apart from that, I don't really, yeah, food is the only thing, and I think I've just kind of tried to find some supplements or try to find out how to cook certain recipes or meals so that I can do that myself. But food is definitely a big thing that really provides a lot of comfort and like feeling of home. But luckily, yeah, I have never really felt homesick as much as it's like, really
How often do you
taking
go back?
over. I don't go back that often actually. I just been in May, but
Hmm.
before that I didn't go for 1.5 years because my mum keeps coming over, so that's nice. She's like the main
Yeah.
person I want to see, so that's easy. And then yeah, I was able to see my friends who sometimes come and visit me as well. It's good because it's only an
It's
hour flight.
easy. It's
Yeah.
so easy. Yeah. I just did it from actually because my sister lives in Hamburg.
Oh,
So
right.
I was in England at the end of May and then end of April, sorry. And then I flew from London to Hamburg and then took the train down to Munich where my parents are. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah. So I thought this is such an easy flight. It's just like up and down and you're
It
there
really
and
is.
yeah.
Can't complain. Yeah,
What
definitely.
about your partner? Is he into your like German foods and things like that? Have you been able to introduce him?
Yeah, some of them he is. Yeah, so I always try. He's a bit particular with like certain, so he doesn't like nuts and whatever. So I love Fleischsalat, you know,
Yeah.
Fleischsalat, and all the pickles stuff and that. He's not into this. So I'm like trying. I'm like just try, and he's happy to try. But
Yeah.
oftentimes it's because you know English food is quite bland. You know, there isn't, you know, in my experience anyway, like fish and chips, it's just deep fried stuff without any
Oh, but it
salt
can
on
be
it or
so
anything.
good. I do
It
miss
can
a
be
good
really
fish and
good.
chips. Yes,
It can be
it's
really
yeah.
good. Yeah.
Hmm.
But like look at like German, you know, it's quite salty sometimes
Yeah.
and stuff, so it's a bit
Yeah.
different. Yeah, but I always try to, and he's like some of the, I can't think of one thing that he like really enjoys, but yeah, he tries. It's interesting to, you know, show
Mhm.
kind of certain foods or certain meals you grew up with. Yeah, it's cool. How about your husband? Does he
Oh,
enjoy German?
he's very much into the beer. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, my
So,
fiance as well.
I mean, that's the first time he came over actually was Oktoberfest time in
Oh yeah,
Germany, and I don't normally go, and it's not really my thing. But yeah, that was his first introduction to Germany, and yeah, and then I guess also since having kids, so when we had kids, and then it became a thing to be when I spoke German at home with the kids,
yeah,
then he got exposed to more, I think, and then
yeah.
just introducing the kids to foods as well. And um, so yeah, but he's very not English in that respect. So he was always very interested and very open to trying things.
Mm. It's funny that
So
you say not English because it is so English to, you know,
mhm.
go somewhere and be like,
It's like
you
hence the
don't.
tea, bringing tea on
Yeah,
holiday and not even trusting any of the local stuff. It's just not
literally.
such an English thing to do.
It is, it is. It's funny because they always make fun of Germans and how they behave
Yeah.
on holiday, you know.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much the same. I hate it when you say it, but yeah.
It is very similar and yeah, in a bit of a different way sometimes, but yeah, definitely
Yeah,
some
for sure.
similarities.
Well, thank you, Sarah. This was really fun. I love talking about England and the cultural differences and friendships, of course, because I think it's such an important topic and one that, yeah, like we said earlier, not many people know that you actually need to think
Mm,
about this. And yeah, so I really love what you're doing.
thank you.
And I guess well, I'll be linking all your your Instagram profile and everything in the show notes. So if people
Thank you.
want to connect, yeah,
Yes,
it's lovely to have you.
thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was lovely. Lovely to speak to you, get to know more about you. Thank you.
Thank you again, Sarah, for your time and this lovely conversation. It amazes me every time how much better and more connected I feel after these podcast chats. And I really hope that my listeners feel that way too. And for those listeners out there who really felt this sense of connectedness and of not being alone with their experience, and maybe had some aha moments while listening, let me know and leave some feedback. And if you want to let Sarah know or maybe connect with her, you can find her on Instagram at Lonely Abroad or go straight to her link tree. All the links are provided in the show notes. Sarah has a ton of free resources on there, including a loneliness quiz and access to a Facebook group. So yeah, check it out. And that's about it for today. As ever, I'm looking for guests to tell their story, whether in English or German. And I would absolutely love to have some more input for destination specials. The next couple of episodes actually will be destination specials, so you can look forward to that. Do some vicarious traveling, which is kind of nice at this time of the year when there's not much happening. Unless you're lucky enough to get away. Yeah, so that's coming up. And in the meantime, let me know, get in touch. And if you know someone, point them this way, share this podcast. I'm so terrible at promoting this and asking people to follow and all that sort of thing. You know, and if you know me as a person, you know that's just something I really struggle with. But at the same time, I feel so connected, and I love all the people that I've met through doing this and creating this podcast. Yeah, so anyway, just getting a bit emotional right here. And that is really it for today. Stay happy and healthy out there, and see you next time.